Hello and welcome to Singapore International Energy Week. Now, the 5-day conference taking place here in the city-state is going on against the backdrop of immense pressure from the Eurozone. This with ripple effects being seen across global economies and markets alike. For more on the latest from the Eurozone and the impact on markets, I'm joined by Lars Ellegard. He's the regional head for Asia at DNB Nor, as well as Clyde Russell. He's a columnist at Thomson Reuters. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us today. Lars, let me begin with you. There's been a distinct change in tone in the language coming from the Eurozone now. Policymakers, they're saying that the Euro can in fact live without Greece. Your thoughts on this, and what does it mean in terms of the global corporate lending environment?
Thank you, Arnold. I'm not surprised about that language, honestly, because I guess the Greeks took everyone with surprise when they wanted a referendum on something as important as this, and I think France and Germany is basically trying to help Greece and sort of keep the region stable. So at one stage, of course, you need to set up an ultimate and ask them to maybe contribute and behave in a more rational manner. When it comes to lending, of course, this is unfortunate on a global basis because it creates a lot of uncertainty.
Clyde, your thoughts on these latest comments coming from the Eurozone now?
Well, I think the leaders of France and Germany have made it quite clear to the Greeks that if they vote against the package that the EU is offering in the upcoming referendum, that they're going to cut them loose, that Greece will effectively, be forced to leave the euro. It will have to stand on its own two legs. That means most likely a messy default, and the Europeans will then try to shore up the rest of the vulnerable European economies, such as Spain and Italy. I think that's the kind of message that we're getting. I think what they're doing is upping the ante. They're making it clear that this is not just a vote on the European package. It's a vote whether Greece wants to be part of Europe. The problem with this is that until this vote happens, we're going to be trapped in the uncertainty and the volatility that's been characterized of this crisis.
Lars, you're here in Asia, obviously, because you see opportunities in this region. In terms of the impact on a global basis, where is it going to be felt most? Is it going to change your view of the region in any significant way?
No, not really, because what we saw during the financial crisis and also now is that Asia is going strong and still performing despite turbulence in other regions. So Asia is standing more on its own, and also it's being driven by higher growth rates that can sustain a slight dip much better than other regions. It's also a much higher domestic consumption in a lot of these, at least the really big countries, so they can shift a lot of their export into domestic consumption, and that helps a lot.
Clyde, fairly disparate region we're talking about. You share Lars's optimism?
I think Asia is probably better placed than it has been at any time in its history to withstand a crisis, a recession that's led by the Western world. Obviously, there are still risks. I mean, some 30% of China's exports do go to the EU. If there is a major recession there or some sort of crisis, that will affect China. But we're right in the sense that Asia won't necessarily be dragged down all the way. I mean, Asia withstood the 2008 crisis pretty well and bounced back very quickly. I think if we can get some certainty out of Europe, that sort of thing will happen again.
Last, I want to come back to this point about Asia being a little bit more resilient. I mean, the fact remains that a big number of European banks are involved in the financing of projects in this part of the world. Sure. Surely there must be a bit of a pullback. There must be a little bit of reticence on the part of banks to lend now to projects here in the region. Your take on this?
Yeah, it's a very good point. I think you will have problems getting banks to sort of admit that they are holding back or pulling out of a market, but I think we will see that more and more going forward, and it will obviously be even worse if the European situation doesn't improve. within the next couple of months, I would say. But the thing is that even though the European banks are withdrawing or should withdraw, there are alternatives now very much in Asia compared to what it was some time ago, and especially on the huge mega projects that requires international banks. Now it is a little bit more shift towards other domestic banks that are very strong and built up a better balance sheet after the financial crisis, that are now being utilized in the ongoing projects in Asia. So it looks like Asia can manage that as well, and then on top of that you have the Australian banks that are rock solid and are still able to do nearly whatever they want to do, especially in their home market.
And a quick word, if you like, Lars, about your presence in Australia. I know you have plans there. Quick word on what you intend to do and why it's attracting you.
Yeah, as you know, we are very much a niche bank within shipping and energy based on our Norwegian heritage, and these are things we believe we know quite well, and that's why we are lending money to those sectors. And in this region, obviously, Australia is an energy nation, so it fits very well with our strategy. And we are contemplating establishing ourselves in Australia. The timeline is not really set, but of course Australia is far away from Singapore, where we currently have our regional head office.
Okay, gentlemen, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much, Lars Ellegard, as well as Clyde, for joining us today. They are, of course, the regional head for Asia for DNB Nor, Lars Ellegard, and our columnist at Thomson Reuters, Clyde Russell. I'm Arnold Gay here at the Singapore International Energy Week. Thank you for joining us.